All right, hey everybody, Teching and Barry back again, and I hope you all had or are still currently having a fabulous One Piece day. Time zones are a thing, so yeah, but One Piece Day, celebrating 27 years of Oda's magnum opus. I don't know why I decided to do that, but I'm going to do it again because it was fun, giving you a little bit of preparation this time. All right, so a lot of news. We got some new information about the Wit Studio version of the One Piece anime, the remake that's coming out, so we got some images from that. That looks really cool. On the anime front, we have the backstory episode with Kuzan on how he joined the Blackbeard Pirates, and we get Garp fighting against Kuzan and the blue hole technique. That was really cool, as well as the finale of Blackbeard versus Law, where Law loses to Blackbeard on Wiener Island. If there's one island you do not want to lose on in the new world, it's Wiener Island, I'll tell you what. But anyway, I mainly discuss manga, and the Egghead arc just kind of wrapped up there. So here's the question. We all know the Straw Hats are going to Elbaf. That's fantastic. Who's all left on Egghead? Because I feel like, the island was not obliterated in a Buster Call or something. The island is still very much there, and there's a lot of characters still on the island. So I compiled a comprehensive list on exactly who is left there and how relevant this is going to be into the future, okay? So the Straw Hats couldn't bring everybody with them, so yeah. First and foremost, I think because of the last chapter, that was very clear. There was something that was a big deal. Saturn did not warp back to Marijois with the rest of the Gorosei. He remained on the island, and one of the last panels we had in the last chapter was Emeth powering down, and Saturn in his human form, had his cane and everything, walked over to him, and it was just this moment where he doesn't really say anything, but he's just observing the Iron Giant Emeth just, "Oh, Joy Boy, I miss you." And then so Saturn's just there like, So the idea there is the giant burst of Joy Boy's haki kind of like negated the summoning ability, which I think it would make the most sense that it was Eam's ability, and then the overriding of the haki, and then that actually was what hurt Eam when we saw Eam like screaming in the flower room and everything. And so the other Gorosei were all summoned there, so they all just, immediately got bounced back to the Room of Authority in Castle Pangaea, but Saturn was there to begin with. Yeah, there was a little bit confusing because Saturn did arrive there on boat, but then he used a summoning circle to jump to the island, but it was very weird because there was no Gorosei to make the summoning circle on the island. He was just able to do that, so maybe all the Gorosei have some kind of ability that they can teleport like short distances or something without another one of them using the summoning jutsu or whatever. At any rate, Saturn seems to be stuck on the island. If it was going to be the same situation as all the other ones, I guess he would have bounced back to Castle Pangaea. It might be feasible though, like if it's Eam's ability to begin with, he might just be able to reverse summon Saturn back to Marijois. Maybe, Eam is kind of distraught at the moment, maybe weakened by that giant burst of Joy Boy's haki, so maybe Eam is not able to use the summoning technique. Maybe everything is unstable right now and it's going to take a while to like recover their power, because I don't think it's as simple as Saturn just like using the summoning ability again to bring the Gorosei back. I don't think that's going to work, okay? That haki definitely damaged them, maybe not physically, but through their willpower and stuff was weakened, okay? So, Saturn is there, though, and he has Emeth, so, that doesn't look great for him, because if I was Saturn in this situation and I saw this Iron Giant wake back up after, 200 years since the attack on Marijois, and then over 800 years since the Void Century, I don't know if the Gorosei are all old as, they've been around during the Void Century, but if that was the case, they've been at least around since 200 years ago, because they recognize the Iron Giant, so it could be. In either way, if I was Saturn, I'd be like, yeah, we need to dismantle this thing, all right? Not even bring it back to Marijois, because that's the worst thing you could do, right? We're not touching this thing. We're not bringing it back to Castle Pangaea to, dissect it. No. I think the smart thing to do would just be to rip it apart here on Egghead. Just bombard the thing, or if you can't rip it apart, I guess just chain it down or something, to make sure this thing doesn't wake back up again. In either case, it doesn't look good for Emmet, and given the way that the last chapter ended with him, flashing back to the memories memories of Joy Boy and that last conversation they had, and his like storing the hockey rope inside of him. I guess it wasn't the last conversation they had, because Joy Boy was just setting it up like, hey, one of these days I'm not going to be around anymore. Here's this hockey in case you need it. And Emeth is like, okay, Joy Boy, that's so nice. Gee shucks, you're a great guy. I just wish we'll be able to see you not in silhouette. Well, someday, Emeth, someday I won't be in silhouette, but not today. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like, they had a bunch of adventures after that, I'm sure, but this seemed to be very clearly the finale of Emeth's character. We're witnessing the death of this character, and then later we'll go back and explore the flashbacks and everything during the Void Century, right? All right, so it's not looking good for Emeth, and Saturn, I mean, it's not honestly looking great for Saturn either. I mean, once he finally does go back to Marijois, whether it be just by getting on a Navy ship and going back the normal way, or by warping back, in either case, Eames probably going to be a little bit peeved over what happened. Yeah, he's going to be a little bit upset about that there. People have even said maybe Saturn might get his power removed from him if Eames really is the one that, like, handed it all out. Like, you have failed me, J. Garcia Saturn. I will now take your power. And he, like, suck the ability out of Saturn, and then he turns into, like the 800 years of time just hit him like a truck, and he's just like, no! And he just, like, fades away into dust on the floor. That would actually be perfect. That would be great. All right, like, considering what he did to Kuma and Bonnie and everybody and Ginny, the him turning into like the end of Zombie Island where he just turns into a skeleton and then dust on the floor. That would be perfect, right? And then he might be able to like give his power to somebody else. Just like, I will take the power away from you, Saturn, and I will give it to another celestial dragon. I'll give it to Garling, or I'll give it to Shanks' hot sister. And we need a woman in the Gorosei, It's like, maybe, I don't know. But that's Saturn. He's still on the island as of right now. Okay. As for Vegapunks, well, out of the 7, 5 of them are dead, but their bodies are still on the island. That's kind of important. Like, Shaka is still, he had his, head blown off. He's in the basement. I guess he's still there. I guess, well, relative to where the basement is right now after everything happened, but Shaka's body is still around. Pythagoras blew up, so he's probably in chunks. Atlas is kind of scattered all over the fabrication sphere, like part of her's over there, part of her's over there. Edison is interesting because we don't actually know for a fact he's dead. He probably is. I'm just trying to keep hope alive. It's just like, oh, please, Edison, please make it through. But he's probably dead, and in which case he's also down in the factory. Alongside, we all know this character, right? Josh. The cat, probably a mink, that was Edison's best friend and lab assistant. I hope Josh made it out alive. I hope he did, right? But I guess, he might have made it out with the other scientists, but maybe he stayed behind to help out his friend. I don't know. So the only ones that survived were Lilith and York. Lilith got on the ship. She's on the Sunny. She's knocked out by Atlas, so she's going to Elbath. York survived, and last time we saw her, she was in the lab phase. So she's up there running around, and she was giving helpful tips and tutorials to the Gorosei. Like, in order to turn off the visual Denden Mushi, the distribution snail, you have to like make sure it's completely destroyed, not just knock it out, so she's still alive, and I'm imagining the government will not kill her because she is a Vegapunk and she is useful, but they are probably going to bring her back to Marijois and chain her up so that they can just put her to work for them, is probably the most likely thing that's going to happen, especially since they think that, like, well, honestly, I could see this two different ways, because one way to look at this is they assume all the other Vegapunks are dead. The Stella is dead. They don't know Lilith is alive, and Lilith might have had her like hard line severed from Punk Records, right? So if they take York's word for it that she is the only remaining Vegapunk in the entire world, you could look at it like the government is going to have, an advantage because she's there to like make a bunch of stuff for them. Or you could see it as a disadvantage because, like, all right, so you are basically telling us you, York, are the only threat that's left from Egghead. Like, the only threat of Punk Records is you, all right? And so she might be like, well, when you put it that way, all right, I think maybe we should just to make sure, But then again, the government might still need, because they need someone that understands the Mother Flame. The Mother Flame and Punk Records are still on the island. They didn't do anything about that. Saturn was kind of smashing the console in front of it, looking for the distribution snail, but the Mother Flame still is perfectly fine in that giant, container, that like metal bulwark thing. And then the brain in the jar is still up in Punk Records. That's still there. They didn't do anything about that, right? So, yeah, I mean, like, I think they're going to keep York alive, and then that'll also be a thing later when Lilith regains consciousness, like, oh, okay, I can't connect to Punk Records anymore, but I'm still a Vegapunk, and they don't know I'm alive, so that's an advantage they have kind of in their back pocket, right? So, but of course, York is going to become a celestial dragon. We all know this, right? York will become the next member of the Gorosei. Wait a minute, hold on. Wait a second, whoa. Wait, hold on a minute. Just give me a minute on this one. Hold on. All right. Okay. York. As a member of the Gorosei, all right? They go back to Marijois. York maybe gets a meeting with Eem. Eem is really pissed at what Saturn did and all of his mess-ups, his screw-ups. So he sucks the power out of Saturn, and he gives it to York. Because if it is some kind of power that Eem gives to people, that he can kind of control them, and he can read their minds, and he can kind of do whatever he wants with them, that would make sense. Because then it would be like, all right, York, we can't trust you to just go and do things. Like, even if we, like, chain York up in the lab and make her just do whatever, she could still build some stuff. She's still a Vegapunk. She could still make, like, a ray gun or something to escape. You know what I mean? So, but if Eem could, like, control her with his ability, maybe in a similar way to the Gorosei, kind of, not really complete control, but like I'm giving you my power, I have tabs on what you're doing, you're not going to get anything, you're not going to be able to betray me. Like, I don't think any of the Gorosei are capable of betraying Eem. Like, even if they wanted to, I don't think they could do that, right? So it might be something like that. So maybe we can combine these theories. We can combine the Saturn gets kicked out of the Gorosei and York survives into one thing. Whatever. We'll see. We'll see. We get a giant, sexy woman as the fifth member of the Gorosei. Okay, I'm all right with that. So yeah, that's Saturn and York. What's up with Lucci and Kaku and Stussy? All right, so Lucci was still on the island. Last time we saw him was in chapter 1111 after the fight with Zoro. The very tense, very insane fight with Zoro, where he got blown away by, like, Jinbei's attack, and then they escaped, and then, Mars showed up and addressed Lucci, and, like, where is York? Where is everyone? And then Lucci gave his very detailed report, ending it out with, hey, Kaku, my partner, he's in the lab, could you not kill him? And, Mars was just like, yeah, I'll try, not really, though. And so Lucci is still in the labo phase, I guess. And the last time we saw Kaku and Stussy, they were in the command room. Stussy was about to leave. She left Kaku out of the bubble, and Kaku was kind of just like, we're not friends, get out of here, you, and tells Stussy to just leave. And, Kaku also says, when Lucci's coming back here, and when he gets here, he's not going to forgive you, he's going to kill you. So you need to leave now, okay? So Stussy starts crying, and she leaves, but we don't see what happens to her after that. That's the interesting thing, right? I don't think that she's just dead. It's just like, oh, well, clearly Stussy did not get off the island and she's dead. I think, if anything, Stussy might have snuck on the Sunny, and then in the next chapter, we're going to have the Straw Hats leaving Egghead, and then, Stussy's just going to be in the Sunny just drinking some tea or something, or just walking out and just be like, hi, everybody, I was here the whole time, too. Like, what? Yeah, I don't think Oda's going to set all this stuff up for Stussy to remain on the island or be dead off screen, all right? So she's still around, and I think she's going to Elbaf as well. That was what was set up. Now, as for Lucci and Kaku, they stayed on the island. I don't think Kaku left or anything like that. So Kaku's going to hang out in the Labo phase. Lucci's going to return, and then they're going to meet back up again, and then he's like, oh yeah, Stussy left, I tried to stop her, but whatever, and, I don't know exactly. It's going to be very awkward between Kaku and Lucci right now, I feel, where exactly their allegiances lie, especially after they've learned about the secret of the Gorosei and everything like that. I do not know what they're going to do. Lucci might still be like, well, hey, I mean, this is what we do. We got to keep doing it. And Kaku might be like, dude, we really gotta find a new line of work. Can we go back to being shipwrights? That was fun. I enjoyed being a shipwright. Didn't you enjoy being a ventriloquist guy? And Lucci's like, Kaku, that life is behind us. We will not retire to a nice little villa in Water 7. We're assassins, for God's sake. Get it together, man. And so I don't know, but they're still on the island, right? And I'm assuming the government and the Gorosei are not just gonna kill Lucci and Kaku. They're not just gonna wipe out. You know too much now. Boom. I'm sure they need them for especially what's coming up next, right? So speaking of the government and the Marines, all right. So after this whole mess is over. There was the 85 Cypher Pole agents that were in the basement. They got freed by Ethan, then sucked up by Peter, and then spit out on a Marine ship. So I guess all the Cypher Pole agents made it. Maybe a couple died while in the middle of all that nonsense was going on. Maybe a couple of them got sliced in half when Ethan sliced the basement. Maybe a couple of them got digested inside of Peter. But also the Seraphim. The Seraphim we also see S-Hawk, Snake, Shark, and Hawk, Snake, Shark, Bear, S-Bear as well, the Kuma Seraphim. They all ended up on the deck of the Marine battleships as well. So the Marines have the Seraphim. They have all the Seraphim. None of the Seraphim got, went away with the Straw Hats on Elbaf or anything. So they have all the Seraphim, plus the Doflamingo and the Moria and the Crocodile Seraphim that we saw in other parts of the world that were quelling the rebellions. The government still has all of them, okay? The Cypher Pole agents got back, as well as the Mark IIIs. A lot of the Mark IIIs were damaged. I think there's about 50 of them. A good chunk of them got destroyed by the Vice-Admirals. There was a bunch that were disabled by Ethan. I don't think permanently destroyed, but damaged and knocked out and stunned by Ethan. And then there were a few, I guess, that are still operational. So if the command ship hierarchy is still going on, Saturn is still on the island, so he could just easily walk around and just be like, Mach 3s, you will obey me. Seraphim, you will obey me. And they will, because the Gorosei is on the island. The only higher authority is Bonnie, and she's not there anymore. So yeah, they government kind of went away with this with a lot of advantages. And oh, by the way, yeah, there is still a buster call going on. I'm pretty sure Saturn is gonna all right, call it off. No more buster call. We kind of need... I just realized we have a lot of valuable stuff on this island that we shouldn't destroy, like the Mother Flame that literally powers the giant laser sky weapon that Eam needs, so maybe we shouldn't completely obliterate this island now, right? So, yeah. Then there's all the Vice-Admirals. Some of them were defeated. Some of them didn't really see any action during this arc. Pomsky, Doll, and Bluegrass were all defeated by Bonnie in the same way. She used her age powers to turn them into kids, and then she punched them. Well, Pomsky she beat the crap out of. Doll and Bluegrass she just turned into kids, and they couldn't fight back or anything like that. Now that ability is temporary, so that'll obviously wear off. But Bonnie took out 3 Vice-Admirals in this arc. So there you go. Frankie took out Red King with a punch, and then Broggy with his axe just crushed Tosa. So the only ones that didn't really get any action were Doberman, Urban, Hound, and Guillotine. Those 4 were just kind of there. They didn't really do much. So yeah, they're perfectly fine though. They're in still pretty good fighting shape. Kizaru, after the fight with Luffy, and Kizaru just got knocked to the ship. I think he was just I'm done. I mean, Kizaru, I feel could have gotten back up at a few points and fought again, but he was I'm done. I don't want to play a role in, killing my friends anymore. So you know what? I'm just laying here, just whatever. He's probably going to get in trouble with this too. Saturn is probably going to give him an earful, and then when they get back to Marijois, Eam is going to give Saturn an earful. So there's going to be a lot of bumbling, going on here, and just you did this, you messed up. No, you messed up. No, you messed up. Everybody just keeps knocking it down to the level below them, or up, I guess. So, yeah, I don't think Kizaru's going to leave the Marines or anything. I don't think it's going to be anything along the lines of Kuzan. Honestly, just because of the way we've seen Kizaru in this arc, I think Kuzan has more balls than Kizaru does. Kuzan was you know what? I don't want to be in the Marines under Akainu. I'm not part of this anymore. I'm leaving. And then he left, okay? I don't think Kizaru is the same. I don't think Kizaru is just going to be screw this, I'm out. I think he's just well, guess this is the way it is. And I think that's just the way he's going to go. Kizaru's personality was kind of like, we learned a lot about him in this arc, and not in like a great way. We kind of learned more about like, he's like, well, you know, the government tells me to murder my friends. I mean, that's just what I got to do, I suppose. I mean, I'm not going to enjoy it, but gotta get your hands dirty every now and then, I suppose, you know. So, yeah, that's Kizaru. He's still on the ship from last time we saw him. Sentomaru. Last time we saw Sentomaru, well, okay, he was captured by the Marines. We saw him all chained up, right? We actually saw him in, like, chapter 1121. Like, 2 chapters ago, we saw him. He was on a ship. We know that because we saw, like, a porthole behind him. We just have, like, one little panel, and he's conscious, and we see a porthole. So I'm assuming he's on a Marine ship. Maybe he escaped and snuck aboard, like, the giant ship, but the giant ship is not laid out the same way. Like, he's on a Marine vessel. I don't think he managed to escape, you know. Well, he could have maybe escaped and went and hid in one of the labs, and maybe that could be one of the portholes in the background that we see in this panel. But it looks like he's on a ship, so he's probably on one of the Marine battleships, I'm assuming. Okay, so he's still probably captured. But Sentomaru also has authority with the command hierarchy. In fact, he has a very unique authority. Like, it's like everybody that has a chip, and then it's Sentomaru above them. And then the Vegapunks, and then the Gorosei, and then Bonnie. So, in theory, Sentomaru might be able to, like, run some kind of escape operation where he might, you know, if, like, a regular Marine with, like, the authority chip, like, even Kizaru's authority is the same as anybody with an authority chip, okay? Kizaru does not have special authority as an admiral or anything. Only the Vegapunks, so just York at this point, and the Gorosei and Saturn, right? So, in theory, if Sentomaru, like, sneaks out, finds one of the Seraphim, and Saturn or York did not give that Seraphim a direct order, if it was just a regular Marine, it's like, hey, Seraphim, stay here until we leave. It's like, okay. And then Sentomaru's like, hey, Seraphim, let's go. Let's get out of here. Oh, okay, you're higher authority. Let's get out of here. You know, so maybe Sentomaru escapes and goes off. His next cover page is Sentomaru's adventure. But he's probably just trapped. He's probably just, you know, imprisoned, you know, so we'll see what goes on with them. Let's see. Yeah, so the Seraphim and the government agents and everything, they're on the Marine ships. Punk Records, Mother Flame, that's still on the island. They need that stuff. It's not relevant to the story, but what about all the other random Marines? Like, think about this. You're just a dude in the Marines that just witnessed all this eldritch god shit going on, and you're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go attack this island. Oh my god, it's a giant sandworm. Oh my god, it's a giant boar. And like all this nonsense, black lightning and hockey's firing off. This giant hockey nuke explodes, and you get knocked out, and you get back up, and just like, was it all a dream? What was it? All the monsters that were ravaging the island, all the kaijus are like gone. They all get sent back to Marijois, so you question whether or not they even existed. Like, what do the higher ups even do with them? Do they just like, well, you saw too much, man, you just like eliminate all the lower ranked Marines? Or is it kind of like at a point of no return where it's like, well, yeah, you did get to see what all the Gorosei looked like, but at this point, that's the least of our concerns, right? Whatever, I guess that's fine. But those Marines, man, I hope the Marines, I hope Akainu puts a lot of money in, like, you know, health benefits, like the therapy and, you know, mental health and stuff in the Marines, because they're gonna need it. All right, after everything they witnessed on Egghead, then getting shockwaved with a hockey nuke, they're gonna need some help, all right? Damn. Let's see. Caribou is not on the island. Caribou escaped with the Blackbeard crew. We saw that in the last chapter. He's with Devon and with Augur heading to Hachinosu to, you know, talk to Teach. Bonnie and Kuma went with the Giants. The Straw Hats went with the Giants. Let's see. I think that might actually be everybody that was accounted for, unless I am forgetting somebody else. Vegapunk's body, the Stella, that is also on the giant ship as well, because, like, Sanji was carrying the body for a while, and they'll probably actually bury Vegapunk on Elbaf, which would be actually a really nice scene. I could see that, them burying Vegapunk. Lilith is there. Saul would be there. Saul would be like, oh, geez, well, he carried on the will of O'Hara. Robin would be there, so Robin could be like, thank you, Vegapunk. They could make a nice little grave for Vegapunk, put some flowers on his grave. You know, like, that would be something there, right? But yeah, he's with the Giants. Oh, the snail died. The distribution Den Den Mushi, rest in peace. rest inside of, well, actually, I don't know, maybe Saturn might dismantle Emeth and, like, grab the snail and, like, you caused all of this. It's already dead, but, like, crush it again into nothing. But maybe there's that. But yeah, I think that's everybody. I mean, I have a bad habit of forgetting something really obvious. So maybe there's another character. It's like, Tekking, how could you completely forget about this character on Egghead? They were so relevant to the entire story. There were all the scientists. Now, actually, that is a legitimate question. The scientists escaped on the evacuation vessel. Then the giants saved them from being destroyed by the Marines. So where's the evacuation vessel going to go? Is it just going to go to Elbaf? Because that actually might be a good move, too. Like, the giants are like, hey, we saved you, scientists. Keep on heading this way, and you'll bump into Elbaf. Don't worry, they're expecting you. Everything's good. And the scientist might be there already. Like, they get the Straw Hats and the, like, Dory and Broggy and the other giants get to the island. Like, the scientists are all setting up, like, labs and shit already to continue the work and something. And so Lilith shows up. It's like, oh, you survived, Professor Lilith. And just like, yes, I did. And just like, that actually might work out too, right? Okay. But dude, I really can't think of anybody else on the island that or even the bodies of anybody that are left on the island. So yeah, and then there's Punk Records and the Mother Flame, which are not, you know, living things. Well, Punk Records is kind of a living thing. It's the question. I mean, Vegapunk's body, like, his heart stopped beating, and I'm guessing his body is going to begin to decompose, but the brain is still active, so I don't know how that works with, like, devil fruit powers. Like, it keeps the brain fruit, I guess. So that's learning a lot about this stuff today. Maybe Lilith will explain it when she wakes back up, right? But yeah, as for that, I think that's everybody on the island. And honestly, like, it's kind of the same thing with Whole Cake, where the whole point of the final act of Whole Cake was not defeat Big Mom, it was get out of Totland. Kind of the same thing here with Egghead. You know, the Straw Hats ultimately just needed to escape. And so all the Straw Hats and the Giants and Bonnie and Kuma and everybody managed to get away. Stussy's probably there as well. But at the end of the day, they are running. And so they're going to get to Elbaf and regroup. But, like, the government now has access to all of Egghead. You know, they have access to the Mother Flame and one of the Vegapunks and the Mark IIIs now. And I mean, they're coming out ahead of this. I mean, none of the Gorosei died. Kizaru didn't die. None of the Seraphim died. I mean, the government got a lot of tech at the end of this. I'm just saying. And I'm the tech king, so I should know. I don't know a lot about technology. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. I just want to do a little bit of a brief recap. A brief recap for me is like a 30-minute video. But yeah, that's about brief as it could be, right, for one of my videos. Yeah, so happy One Piece Day as it continues. And we will look at some other stuff, the Wit Studio adaptation in the future. That'll be really fun. I'm really excited for that one. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and Barry signing out. Later, all.